It's that super, no, she my flow. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's that
Right. So when I say parent members, either it can be a instance variables or it can be a instance methods. Right. When you specifically want to access the members of a parent, you will be using the super keyword. Okay. When you want to specifically access the members of a child class, then you will be using the this keyword. Right. So that was a brief differentiation between super and this. Super means super class. What is a super class? That parent class is nothing but a super class. That is super. This is whichever class in the execution. That means it will be almost the child class itself. Right. So coming to a constructor, so these are the automatically executing a methods when you are creating a objects of that particular class. Right. Sometimes you might be required to pass a values and initialize instance variable. In that situation, you will be going for a parameterized constructor. Constructors is just a similar to a methods. Few constructors can take a parameters and a few constructors take a parameter.
Hello?
Yes.
So my question is like, if we write extend, then we automatically get access to the parent class, right?
Yes.
Then why we need super
See,
with bracket?
super, that if you are writing super with a bracket, then you are explicitly calling a super constructor. Explicit. See, when a constructor will be executed when you are creating an object. Okay. So when I'm creating object of a child class, right? So at the same time, if there is a situation, so means when I'm creating an object of a child class, obviously the parent constructor will execute. First a parent constructor will execute, then only it will come to a child constructor. Right.
Yes, sir.
See, if you have a situation, say for example, we have taken one example also, where if we are not writing a super, it was showing an error saying that there is a no matching parameter with respect to a parent constructor. This we have seen with respect to a last class where I have shown you, like if you are not writing a super here, so then it was showing an error. Brahan, sir, yesterday you told me that class cannot have final keyword, but it works. One more question, difference among setter, getter and a constructor. Setter, getter, constructor. Brahan, I'll discuss this one later. Getter means used to take the value. Setter means to instantiate, the means to initialize the values to an instance variable. That is a setter. Okay, so getters and setters nowadays when you are going with the IDEs, so they are coming with the getters and the setters by implicit. Okay, so constructors, see, using a getters and the setters, it is similar to a constructor. There is a small difference between a constructor and the getters and setters. I'll take a suitable example and let you know, because that particular part is not included in the syllabus. So in some class, I'll discuss that particular part.
Sir, what about final keyword in the class?
Final keyword in a class, see, if it is a nested class, then only you can use a final. If it is a normal class, I don't think a final can be used for that class.
Normal class works.
Normal class it works, huh?
Mm.
Okay, so let me just cross check and let you know. Ruby Kumari, what is the specific use of a method and a constructor in inheritance? Okay, so wherever you go, whether it is an inheritance or a normal functionality, method comes into a, so means you can work with a method only you have a, when you have an object with you, right? Until and unless you create an object, you cannot call the method. But a constructor is a different. Constructor will be called during the execution of an object itself. That means during the creation of a method itself, constructor will come into existence. Sir, in further classes, we will use a final. I don't think so. If there is a requirement, then we will discuss a final. But sir, when we use a final keyword, it will show error, right? Then What is the use of a final keyword, sir? When we use a final, both methods will not execute, right? See, intention of using a final is to restrict. Okay. See, some cases you might be required to restrict a few things. That means whenever you want a method not to be overridden by the child, then only you will be making it as a final, right? So that particular indication to tell you that this particular method is a final, and you cannot give a new definition for it, right? It might be error, but it is stopping you to not to override the method which has been declared in a parent, right? For you as a child class, for you it might be an error. When you think about a parent class, it feels satisfied because you are not allowing a child to modify that one now, right? So that is based on the requirement. Say for example, you have created one class. See, nobody will do the things intentionally. What I mean to say is, for example, in a parent class, if you have some 50 methods, and by mistake, see, by mistake you have typed the same name, that may not be your intention actually. You may not be interested to implement a method m1 which has made as a final from a parent, but by typing mistake you might have done it as a m1. Even your intention is not to implement a m1, right? So in that situation, if it shows you an error saying that m1 is the final method in a parent, then you can realize, right, oh, what a foolish thing I am doing. I am trying to override the method which is declared by m1. So this name should not be m1, something else. Yes. Okay, so good questions. So in today's class, I wanted to discuss what is called as abstract class. Okay, so before we proceed with how to use abstract class and all those things, first we need to answer a basic question that is called as why you require abstract class. What is the purpose of abstract class? Okay, so now consider a scenario something like this. And whenever I tell a scenario, try to be clear with the scenario. Say for example, you are developing an application for a website, right? So this is not a real-time example. Just for understanding, I'm giving you this scenario. When you go to a static website, static in the sense you don't have any login credentials, dynamically changing the values, all those things, static, normal website. In all those websites, you will be having a few tabs common, right? So what are those few tabs? Something like a home, there will be some home page. There will be some about us page. If you are talking about some university website, so every time you will be having like a page called departments, right? So now what I mean to say is, these values I know. Say for example, if I am defining a class and that particular class is having some 100 methods, right? As a developer, it is not necessary that I need to know the implementation of all the 100 methods, right? So what I mean to say is, if I have a class called a y, under this particular class, I have some 100 methods need to be implemented, right? So what I'm saying is, I need to implement 100 methods, right? Now, for every developer, it may not be a same situation wherein which he will be comfortable in developing all the 100 methods, right? So there might be a situations wherein which the person might be knowing only the coding for 50 methods, and he might not be knowing how to implement other 50 methods, right? Or a person might be knowing how to implement 99 methods, and he may not be knowing how to implement the 100th method. Maybe completely out of his box itself, right? So according to scenario, whatever I said, website, say for example, if I know what has to be put in a home page, if I know what has to be put in a about us page, if I know what has to be put in a department page, I'll keep on creating those pages. Say for example, if I don't know what has to be put in a contact us page, right? Contact us is nothing but an address. Okay. So if I'm developing a website for some university, I know all the things because most of the things will be a common. There will be a statement something like university's mission is a something, goal is something, outcomes expected is a something, right? So these are the common. I can easily relate to those things. I can easily develop those things, but contact is a different, because every university and a college will be having a different address for them, right? So now what I'm saying is, I know with respect to one particular class, I know the implementation of a few methods, and I doesn't know the implementation of few other methods, right? So when I don't know the implementation of a few methods, right? When I don't know the implementation of a few methods, say for example, if I have 100 methods, right? I have given a definition for a 99 methods. I have given definition for a 99 methods. I don't have a definition given for a one method, right? I don't have a definition given for this, right? So what does it mean? For all these 99 methods, right? If I say method is starting from a M1 to M99, right? So for all these things, I have a description. Description have means curly braces. Method definition will be enclosed in a curly braces, right? For this particular method, that is method M100, I don't have a definition. When I don't have a definition, I need to end this one with a semicolon, saying that I don't know the definition, what has to be written within this particular method. This description I don't know with respect to this method, right? So this is a scenario. That means I have a one class, I know the definition for a 99 methods, right? I can define all these methods with the curly braces, all the 99 methods, the definition I can give, right? But for one of the method, I don't know the definition. I have ended that particular method M100 with a semicolon, right? So now, can I create object of this particular class? Just assume you are able to create object of this class. Assume, right? How will be creating an object of this particular class? Y object is equal to new y, right? Suppose if I created an object, right? When I created an object, then I need to access all the methods by using that particular object, right? So by using the object, if I am calling a M100, do I have any definition given in the class? Not given, right? So when a definition itself is not given, when you have not said what that particular M100 need to be done, so means what is the work of that particular M100, you didn't specify anything for it, right? So without specifying anything what has to be done, if you are calling that particular method, what it will do? Are you able to understand the problem, right? So in a class, whenever you don't know the definition for any one method, right? In a class, in a complete class, if you don't know the definition of any one method, then that particular method need to be made as abstract. Abstract in the sense, I don't know complete definition, right? So what abstract says? Abstract says, I don't know complete definition. That means I don't know how to implement this particular method, right? So let me consider an example, something like this here. I have a class X. So in a class X, I have an instance variable a comma b. I have a method called a M1, which is having a definition, and there is a fair possibility something like this. I have a method M2, but I don't know the definition of this particular M2. Right? So what I said, when you don't know the definition of the method, you will not be having a curly braces for that particular method. When you don't have a curly braces for that particular method, then this method need to be made as abstract, right? When you have a single method as abstract in a class, right? Even if you have a single method in a class as abstract, then you have to make this particular class as abstract, right? So whichever method is having a complete definition, right? So these methods will be called as concrete methods. Concrete in the sense complete. I know what exactly the method will work. What is the working of that particular method? That is concrete method, right? Abstract method in the sense I don't know what is the definition of this particular, right? So concrete method is I know complete definition. Abstract method is I don't know what is the implementation. And there is nothing like a partial implementation of a method. If you know complete knowledge, then only you have to write a method. If you don't know the complete knowledge, then you have to make it as a abstract. You cannot say like partially I have developed, you develop a partially. It cannot be done like that, right? So based on this discussion, if you have any questions, you can post, and be clear with the definitions. Whatever I said, abstract class can contain concrete methods and abstract methods, right? In a class, even if you have a one abstract method, then a class need to be made as abstract. And when a class is abstract, you cannot create object of that particular class, right? Why you cannot create object of that particular class? Because one of a method is abstract. If that object created is accessing this particular method, what should I do, right? So that is the reason why object creation is not possible with respect to abstract class, right? So when object creation is not possible, what is the purpose of this particular class? Question, right? When object creation itself is not possible, then what is the purpose of this class? Purpose is when a class is abstract, it will be having a concrete methods also, right? If consider that I have a 99 concrete methods and only one abstract method. I made this one as abstract, saying that once you know what is the implementation for that remaining method, you finish this particular class implementation, then you create an object, right? So how to finish this particular class implementation? You have to create one more class, which is something like a y extends x, right? So now all the methods will be available for the class y, right? So give a implementation for a M2, create an object of a class y, right? Now let me see a few questions in the chat box, then we will discuss further. Repeat the statement, sir. Sir, instead of leaving empty in M2, can we delete? See, if we delete means, see, I'm saying that when I'm saying about a website, then obviously I'm sure that there should be a contact us page. I cannot just without a contact us, I cannot develop a website, because the person who visits a website obviously will be looking at a contact us page, right? So he wanted a contact. That means that method is unnecessary, but I don't know how to implement that. If you don't know the definition, then why to create the method? Yes, beautiful question, Ruby. Yes, for a time being, I don't know. I didn't say that I will not implement that one. I said like, presently I don't know. I'll give this file to someone and I'll tell them to implement this particular method for me. Say for example, your Facebook account, everybody is having a Facebook account, right? In a Facebook account, you will be having so many different applications running over there, right? You can create albums. You can nowadays, previously also, you were able to tag a person. That means once you upload a picture, it will detect what are the faces available. So from that faces, it will show you a suggestion also. This person might be this person, right? So then you can tag these things. Now what I mean to say is, as a developer, I may not be knowing how to analyze the image, right? What I might be knowing is, I know how to upload an image, right? So what I will do, I'll write instructions how to upload an image to a web page, right? So now I will tell, okay, once I have uploaded, I make a abstract method for identifying the pages, identifying persons in that particular image, right? So the person who is good in image processing, he will implement that particular method for me, right? If I have to implement, then I have to learn image processing completely. So it will take some 2 years or 3 years of a degree to finish image processing. So after 2 or 3 years, then I'll come back and then I'll give a definition of how to identify those faces, right? It's not feasible, right? So whichever methods you are comfortable, you will be implementing those methods, and a few methods which is a requirement from the user perspective, you don't know definition means you will make it as abstract, right? So when I said I don't know, it doesn't mean that that method is not required, right? What I'm saying is, I don't know the definition. There might be some other person who knows the definition, or I might be studying that particular method, how it should work. Then I might implement that particular method for me. Does everything is clear? Shall we quickly see the points in the slide? Right. So what does the first point says? Abstract classes cannot be instantiated, but can be subclass. Right. So you cannot create object of abstract class because you have some method which has not been defined. Right. So what you have to do is you have to make that particular, so means you have to extend that particular abstract class, then only the object can be created for that particular class. Right. So that was your first point. Abstraction refers to the ability to make a class abstract in a OOP. Abstract in the sense to hide. Hide in the sense I don't want to disclose what is there inside. That is abstraction, right? So it does not provide 100% abstraction. It is not going to provide you 100% abstraction because your class will be having some concrete methods and as well as abstract methods, right? Abstract methods in the sense you will not be knowing a definition, some other person will be knowing a definition. Concrete method means you know the definition and you wrote everything, right? So now when I see the class, I'll be having two things. Few are completely visible, few not visible because nothing has been written in that, right? So this is not completely hiding your class, right? Partial. Concrete methods, you can see whatever has been written in a concrete class, right? So now what I'm saying is assume that a class has been put in a box, right? If you open that particular box, there are some definitions given for a few methods, right? You can understand there is some definition given. That means by looking at those definitions, you understand what this particular class is doing, right? And a few methods are abstract, right? So when I say abstract, you don't know the definition, how that particular methods will be implemented. Those methods will be implemented by some other person, right? So now what I mean to say is the person who is looking from the box, for that particular person, your complete class will not give you a clarity, right? Few methods are completely written and a few methods are not completely written. So this is going to show you a partial abstraction. Sir, question in the chat box. Sir, what I'm saying that if you don't know that particular definition, then don't create that method for a time. Then if you hire someone who know the definition, that you can create that method and you can do update. See, now what I'm saying is I'm just making a rule saying that this particular method need to be written. Say for example, when I'm defining a class, when I'm developing application, I may not be having only one class or only one method, right? I may need to work with respect to more than some hundreds of classes, right? So it will be a very tough for me to remember in which class which method need to be implemented. I need to cross check everything, right? Say for example, you are developing application by considering some 50 classes, right? So in all those 50 classes, you may be required to develop some 3 to 4 methods, right? So for all the 3-4 methods, you cannot make a notebook and just write in this particular class, I need to implement some 3 methods. In another class, I need to implement these 4 methods, right? It will be a lengthy process to keep track also, right? So instead of that, what we will do is until and unless you finish the implementation of those methods, you don't want to give the application to the user, right? That is a requirement from my side. I said that when you are developing a website, I wanted to have a home page, I wanted to have a about page. At the same time, I wanted to have a contact us page also. This is the requirement from the user, right? Until and unless I finish the implementation of a contact us, I cannot give a website to the user. He will scold me without putting a contact. What is the use of a website, right? So now what I will do is I will make that particular contact us as an abstract. Abstract in the sense, before you finish a release of this particular product to the client, you first implement that method, then only you give to the user, right? So that is the purpose of making something as an abstract, right? Method is the compulsory, but you don't know the definition. You want some expert, or you want to learn the things, right? If it is like optional, I might have excluded that particular method and gone with the implementation of a class, right? So this requirement is not like that. I have to implement a method, but not for a time being, right? Okay. So I think clear with abstraction. Abstraction, it is not giving you a complete abstract view. It is showing a few methods, and a few methods are hidden, right? If the class is abstract and it cannot be instantiated, the class does not have a much use unless it is a subclass, right? So you have to extend a class, then only you have to proceed. A parent class contains common functionality of a collection of a child classes, but the parent class itself is too abstract to be used on its own, right? So in these scenarios, your parent class, in most of the scenarios, parent class will be having a common methods, right? And this has been made as abstract. So the child class has to give an implementation for that, then it has to proceed further. And abstract classes can have both abstract method and a concrete method. Concrete method in the sense, you know the definition of those things. Abstract method, you don't know the definition of those things, right? Abstract classes can have a constructors, member variables, and the normal methods as a similar to a class, right? So it will be working similar to a class, but if one of a method is abstract, then you will be making a class as an abstract, right? Now, say for example, you have a defined one class wherein which you need to implement some 100 methods, right? Out of that, you know only 90 methods implementation, right? So you made a class as an abstract, okay, made as an abstract. Now the second person is extending that particular class. How many remaining methods are there? 10 remaining methods are there. You gave a 90 definition, 10 are remaining. So the person who extends that, he don't know the definition for all the 10, right? He gave a definition for only some 4 methods, right? So another 6 methods are abstract itself, right? When that is abstract, then again your class should be abstract only, right? You need to call a third person for the implementation of remaining 6 methods. That third person, he may not be knowing a definition for all the 6. He might be implementing only one method. Let it implement. Let him implement that. Again, make a class as abstract, right? Now you give to a fourth person. Let him extend. Remaining 5 methods were there. Let him implement a 2 or a 3. Again, still you get a definition for all the methods. Your class remains as abstract only, right? So once you get a definition for all the methods in a class, then only the class will become a complete class, right? So when you extend the abstract class with abstract method, you must define an abstract method in a child class or make the child class abstract, right? If you are able to give a definition for all the methods, then it is fine, wonderful. If you are not able to give a definition for all the methods, if a few methods are still abstract, then you have to make even a child class as abstract only. Clear with the points, clear with the introduction, understood the overall idea of what is abstract. If you are clear with these points, then we will see lab program quickly. I will try to type and show the few aspects of a lab program. Shall we see the example? Once we write a program, you will feel confident. I am sure about that. Shall we proceed? And until and unless we finish this particular explanation of example, we are not going to end this particular session. Right. So read the question carefully. According to this particular question, we have to define the classes. We have to define the methods. Right. We will follow step-by-step procedure. So what is the first step saying? An abstract class called a shape with the following properties. Right. So what is the class name? Shape. What are the properties it is asking? It is asking for an instance variable called a shape name of a type string and an abstract method called a area, a toString method that returns the name of the shape, right? So what is the overall it is saying? It is saying that there should be a class with a name called a shape. There should be a one variable called as a shape name. There should be a two methods. One method is an area, that is abstract method, and another method is called as a toString. What is the purpose of a toString? Whichever object created, whichever object has been created, it has to call its class. What is the class name of that? I will write an implementation, you will understand what is a toString, right? So let me just follow the instructions or the things with respect to the question. I hope finisher, right? So class shape, this was a requirement. So according to requirement, I am writing a that. This is an abstract class it is saying. So let me write it as an abstract. Okay, abstract class. Now, with respect to this class, what are the properties? It has said that there should be a string. What is the name of that particular string? Shape name, right? Shape, or else let us just take it as a name, or we'll follow with the requirement shape name, right? So this is a string, right? So what is the next statement with respect to our program? An abstract method called the area. That means area should be abstract. Abstract void area. When I say abstract, I don't have a definition for that. Yes, don't have a definition. What is the next statement with respect to that? A toString method that returns name of the shape. Name of the shape in the sense, I'll just write a statement, then I'll explain what is the purpose of that one. String, because from this method I'm expecting name, right? So I'm writing a string. String, what was the name for that? toString is a method. toString is a method. What it has to do? It has to return you whichever object has created, its class dot its name, right? So let me just explain you what is a toString. Now the class is abstract, then there should be some child class which extends this particular class, right? So whichever a child class is extending this particular class, its name it requires, right? So let me proceed with the program, then you will understand what is the purpose of a toString later, right? So first one is a shape, shape name. Next is the area. So you have something called a toString method. So area is an abstract method, so I made it as an abstract, right? So let us proceed with the question. I think you are able to see the switchover also, right? Question is also displayed, right? So what is the second statement? Create a subclass named sphere, right? Which has radius and its area given by the formula pi r square, right? So what is the child class name it is asking? It is asking for class called a sphere. Class sphere, right? Created a class called a sphere. Okay, so in this sphere, what is the requirement? It should have something called as radius. So double radius, this is an instance variable. It has to give a definition for an area because that method is abstract in the parent, correct? So what is the formula for that? Pi r square is the formula. So let me directly print the answer. System dot out dot println area, or area is double quote plus, let me write a formula directly. 4 into, what was the formula? Pi r square. What was the formula given there? 4 into pi into r square, Okay, 4 into 3.142 into r. R is nothing but a radius. I need to get a value for the radius, so let me write a constructor for the same. Right, so I need to get a value for this particular radius, right? So if a user enters a value for a radius, I need to assign that particular value to this particular instance variable. So for that reason, let me create a constructor, right? Sphere, let it take a value called r and let it assign this particular radius is equal to r. Hope things are clear. Now when I am creating object, I will be passing a value of r. So whatever value you are passing from a user, that will be assigned to a instance variable called a radius. Right? So we are just making local variable as an instance variable. And what is the purpose of making something as an instance variable is, if you have a few more methods in a class, all those methods can utilize this particular value. Right? Shall we proceed further? Clear till this point? We need to extend a parent, right? Extends shape. According to a definition, I have a created abstract class. In an abstract class, you have a concrete method and you have an abstract method, right? So as I have an abstract method, I have to give a definition for that particular abstract method, extending my parent class and giving a definition for the abstract method, which is called as area, right? So I need to make a local variable to instance variable such that this particular instance variable may be useful in other methods of the class. So I'm just instantiating a one constructor. Its work is to just assign the value passed from the user to this particular instance variable. Right? Shall we just create a main class and just cross check whether things have been working or not? So I'll just go with a file name as a class name. I have a something called lab3 demo. This is the main class. So public static void main string args, right? Okay. So I need to create object of a sphere because I cannot create object of a shape as the shape is abstract, right? So how to create object of a sphere? sphere sphere object is equal to new sphere. You have a one parameterized constructor, so let me pass a value for that. Created object called that particular constructor, right? So using that particular object, you can call a method called area, right? Do you have a one more method in a parent class? Yes, I have a one more method in a parent class. That class is nothing, that method is nothing but toString, right? So this is defined within a sphere and this is defined in a parent abstract class. Shall we run and cross check what is the output? Will it work fine or not? Did we able to concentrate on a first example or not? That means first statement. ToString in a shape cannot override a ToString in object. Okay, so there is inbuilt ToString method. So let me just make it as a public because you have a inbuilt ToString method. I have just changed its signature. No errors. Let me come run the program. This is the answer. What it has shown with respect to last one. Okay, so the last method, this method is returning a string. So I have to handle that particular string. Out dot println. So here let it print whatever the response it has got from the method. I hope you understood. Here the return type is a string. That means this particular answer it will be returning from me. When it is returning an answer, I'll directly print whatever it has written. Right? So just compile once. Right. So it is showing that area has calculated something. Sphere, because this is an object which it is calling. Right? So observe where I have written this statement. See, here I wrote a written this. That means whichever object is calling this particular toString. Which object is calling this particular toString? Obj. What is the type of that particular object? Sphere. Right? So that particular sphere has displayed as the output for me. Concept is a simple. We just need to understand. We just need to have a clarity with respect to each and every concept. Abstract class, abstract method, constructor, extending abstract class. ToString method, it is not doing anything extra, just a concentrate whichever object you are calling. Say for example, here what we are writing obj.toString, right? So this is how we are calling this one, right? This method. What it does is with respect to this object obj, right? It will just take get class in the sense this object belongs to which class, right? Whichever class it belongs to, the name of that class you require, right? So you have created obj method, obj object for the class called a sphere, right? So now what execution happens is this particular the keyword this will be replaced by obj, right? With respect to this object get class, what is the class name of this? Get class. It has got a class. Now with respect to this class, you will get the name of that particular class. Out of this class, what exactly you require? I just require its name. I don't want a number of instance variable. I don't want a number of methods in that particular class. I just want what is the name of that particular class, right? So now with respect to object created, to which class this particular object belongs and what is the name of that particular class. So this information it will return for me, right? Any questions? Why to use a public, sir? Public in the sense if I'm not using a public here, inbuilt with respect to strings, you have a method called a toString, right? So what it was showing is there is a conflict with respect to a inbuilt toString and a toString which you are implementing. It was showing that particular conflict. So that is the reason why I just made it as a public, just to give a differentiation, right? I'm not talking about an inbuilt toString. I'm talking about my own definition of a toString. Get name, I didn't get, sir. See, if I am writing object.get class, say for example, if I am writing object.get class, it will not give me the name of the class. Rather, every class will be having some identifier with it, right? It will give me the identifier of the class, not the name of the class. If I am writing obj.get class, you will get some ID, hash code, right? My intention is not to get a hash code. My intention is to get the name of the class. That is the reason why I wrote object.getClass.getName, right? If you want, here we can write some system.out.println. Here let me write this dot get class, just to see what it will print if I write a just a get class, right? So save the file, compiled. See what I am getting, class sphere, right? Now I don't want a class sphere need to be specified. I just want a sphere need to be specified. Actually it should print a ID, but I am writing that one in a system.out.println statement. It is showing me a string format of this. right? So if for a time being, at least consider, if I'm writing just a get class, it will print a class sphere. I don't want to print class sphere, I just wanted to print name of the class, so I have taken get class dot get. Clear? Right. So here with respect to a lab program, what we have done is we have not directly given a value as a 10, rather we have created a scanner object and read the input from the user, right? So let me just add a few statements for how to read an input from the user. So when I will be using a scanner, I need to import java dot util dot scanner. This I have to import. Later here I don't want to give this particular 10 as it is, rather I want to read a input from the user. Scanner sc is equal to new scanner, that is a scanner object. It has to read from the system input, system.in. If you are not able to understand these statements, just keep in mind that these statements are used to read an input from the user. In a later class, we will discuss what are the different ways of reading an input, right? So for a time being, just have this particular idea. So system.out.println, enter radius. Right. So once a user sees this particular statement, he will be entering a value. So I will say double r is equal to sc dot next int. That means whatever input has been entered, I am reading that particular input into a variable called r. So now I don't want to pass a 10, rather whatever has been stored in r, I want to pass that, right? So scanner object created, one statement printed to a user. After this statement, it will read whatever input has been read, and that will be copied to a variable called r, right? So now you are passing that particular r as an argument for the constructor, right? So let us just cross check, will it work or not? I feel there might be a few case sensitive errors. Enter a radius. What is the error? System.out.println. Oh, I wrote a colon after the semicolon. What a silly mistakes. Class scanner cannot find a symbol. Cannot find a symbol means there is a problem with the Java util. I might used a small j or a capital J. I was in a small confusion. Compiled. Yes, compiled fine, that is a small j. All right. Enter a radius 10. So it is giving me a 12, so means 1256 according to a calculation, and it is showing me whichever object is calling a toString method. Is this clear? What are the things we have done now? First point we have done, created abstract class, and the second point we have done, created a sphere class. What is the third point? Create a subclass named rectangle, which has length and a width as its area. Okay, and its area is the length times width. Shall we just quickly finish this particular part also? It won't take much time once you know this particular part. Yes, finish. Class rectangle extends shape. I am writing everything in front of you, not copied anything and not pasting anything. So what are the two variables it will take? Do double length comma width. So these are the two values which are required to calculate the area, right? So what is the next thing? You need to have a constructor to initialize the values, right? So let me take double L comma double W. These two are arguments for my constructor, right? So what has to be done? Once you pass a values, this len should be occupied with L and this dot WID, that is instance variable, need to be occupied with a W. This is what my constructor. Void area, right? So how the area need to be calculated? System dot out dot println double quotes, come on, area of rectangle is double quotes plus what was the equation given, L into, this is the area. So did we implement everything with respect to a class rectangle? Take the two instance variables, initialize those two instance variables, and then we have calculated the area of a rectangle. Anything is missing?
System dot out.
System dot out. Okay. Okay. Right. Now, so to calculate the area of a rectangle, system dot out dot println enter length and width of rectangle, right? So once it enters a length and a width of a rectangle, I need to have a two variables, double L to take a length. So I will write same scanner object I will take, right? So double W to read width, SC dot next it, right? So once I have a two values, I can create object of a rectangle. A rectangle, I'll say R is equal to new rectangle. Whatever the values you have read, you pass those values, right? So these values will be copied to constructor. Constructor will initialize the values to instance variable. Then I can call the method called area on a object called R, right? R dot toString, right? So these are the things with respect to a class called a rectangle. Let us just cross check, are there any errors? R dot toString, R variable R is already defined. Okay, let me make it as R object. Okay, R object, R object. We have to take care of these mistakes. Compiled fine. Radius for the sphere, for the rectangle 10 and 20, and this is the calculation of area. Again I made a mistake with respect to printing the R dot object. It has to print complete description. Copy, paste it here. Now I have to call R dot object, Control X, let me write R here. Okay, right, calling that particular toString method. Compiled fine. 10, 10 and 20. Yes, it is calling my rectangle object. Right. So hope the things are very much clear, and we are left with one more case, which is called as a triangle. I think once you know how to do with respect to a sphere, how to do with respect to a rectangle, it won't take a much time for you to implement for the triangle, right? So this is your lab program 3. So after your class, I'll share a class recording. First go through the recording, be clear with each and every statement, then only go through the program. So whatever the things I have written, almost the same is there with respect to a lab program also. If you have any questions, First clarify the questions, then only execute a program and a cross check, right? So there will be a assignment created in a Google Classroom, like as usual we will be doing for the labs. Same thing. First be clear with the recording, understand the concept, try to understand the program, then only execute and upload the things, right? So execution won't take a much of time, just a copy paste, just take a screenshot of the output, make a document and upload, right? Have a nice day. Thanks for your time, and thanks for asking a few valuable questions. I hope I explained the things in a better fashion.